in a little bit, we're going to read John chapter 17. And this is I think one of my favorite chapters in the Bible. I really love it. And but before we go there, I think it'd be better to have a little context to why Jesus prayed this at this time, what he was praying about, and what it really meant. And to do that, I think it's best to jump into the disciples themselves. Have you ever thought, why did Jesus choose these particular 12 folks? Why these 12? I mean, I'm a fisherman, so I'm glad he chose some fishermen. But why did he choose these 12 folks? They were not all the same. Like nowadays, if you go for a job interview, they're trying to see if you can do the job. They'll do a test sometimes. They'll see if you have good chemistry, if you fit in with the team and all that sort of thing. Jesus obviously didn't need to do any testing. He knew everybody's hearts down to the nitty-gritty. So why did he choose these 12 people? Was it by temperament, like how they acted? Because you have James and John, the sons of Zebedee. Remember those two guys? Remember what Jesus called them? Sons of thunder, that's right. These guys were hotheads. When they got mad at that little town in Samaria, you guys remember that story? I think it was in John, it was in Luke. Luke 9:51 through 56. They get to this little town in Samaria, and because they're passing through on the way to Jerusalem, nobody there would talk to them, do anything for them, give them water, food, or anything. And James and John got so mad, they said, Jesus, do you want us to call down thunder from on high or fire from on high? Jesus is like, no, we're not doing that today. But that's the kind of, they just, and then that other time where not only were they hotheads, but they kind of wanted to be top dog. And they asked Jesus for a special favor. They said, will you do something for us? And Jesus wisely didn't say, sure. He said, what? And they said, can we sit, when you get to heaven, can we sit on this side and on this side of you? I mean, they wanted to be up there. The other disciples were upset about that, if you recall. Like these two guys, these knuckleheads. Anyway, sons of thunder, hotheads. And then you've got Peter, different temperament. I don't know how you would describe Peter, but I would say he's kind of impulsive. He likes to be the first person to speak. You know how when you were in school and there's that kid in the classroom that always raises their hands all the time, just the first one to talk, and nobody else gets to talk, and the teacher's trying to handle that. I think Peter is a little bit like that. When Jesus said, who do the people say that I am? Who's the one who answers first? Peter. When Jesus says, I'm going to be crucified, who's the one who tells him, no? It's Peter. When Jesus comes by on the boat at night, now this is the one that's pretty cool. It's Peter who jumps out of the boat, says, help me out here. I love that part of the story. But Peter was impulsive, and he was courageous in the sense that remember when he sliced that guy's ear off where Jesus is getting ready to be crucified, and Peter has a sword. And the soldiers come into the garden to get Jesus, and Peter chops off the servant's ear. And of course, it worked out well because that servant probably had the best hearing of anybody afterwards because Jesus put that ear back on and healed it. I mean, this guy probably worth the squeeze. The juice was worth the squeeze. So we got James and John, the sons of thunder. We got Peter, Mr. Impulsive. And then we have some people that are a little more on the they're a little more methodical side. And one of those would be Philip. There's many times they're out there, they're doing all these adventures going through Galilee. And one time, well, actually it happened twice that we know of, but one time there's 5,000 people, all came up to see Jesus, hear him talk, and then it comes to be lunchtime, and nobody has food with them. So Philip is the one who goes around, there's that many, that's 10 times 5 is 50, and he does a calculation. Oh man, this is a lot of money. We're going to have to spend half a year's salary to feed all these people. And he tells that to Jesus. He doesn't go, call down food from heaven. He doesn't say any of those types of things. He's just that practical kind of person, the very, very opposite of a son of thunder. And then you have Thomas, who also has a different temperament. He's kind of a little more on the skeptical side, as we remember from that, I won't believe it till I touch and see. But he also was kind of a brave guy, whereas Peter said, I will never deny you. And he denied Christ three times before the cock crows. Tom said, I'll go with you to death. Let's go. You almost might say he's a little pessimistic. He's like, we're all going to die. Let's go. So you have these different types of people. You have these temperaments that are so different. Jesus didn't get a whole bunch of clones. They're very, very different. Just like all of us in this room, we're all very, very different. And then you have that to make it complicated enough, but he adds a little bit extra to it. He gets people with very different politics. Now, in the United States, we all have the exact same political view, right? Yeah, we all get along perfectly. Here's an example of even more right-left crazy difference. He chooses Matthew, who is a tax collector. Now, I'm not really fond of the IRS as it is, but I pay my bills, and I hope they go towards roads and things that are worth doing. But back in the day, the tax system was entirely different. The Romans had a system, they called it farming. So you could say, I'm going to bid $100 to have the right to tax Angels Camp for the next year. So you pay $100 as the top tax collector, and then you find a whole bunch of people to work for you who go out and they try to squeeze every last dollar out of that population. Really, really different. You don't have a tax code that you don't have any of these actuarial accountants and all these other folks. You just have some people really, really squeezing because they know they have a year to make back that $100 and then make some profit on top of it. Now, Matthew wasn't one of those top dogs. He was just a regular guy who worked for that. But you had to be multilingual. You have to speak the language that the Romans understood, as well as Jewish, as well as Aramaic. Hebrew and Aramaic, I'm sorry. And you had to be good with numbers. But the way he was making his money wasn't that check he got every 2 weeks or every month from the IRS. He got it every time he squeezed someone a little bit harder than he was supposed to. He get that little extra money for himself. That does not make you very popular with everybody. So he was all pro-Roman. Let's go, Rome. I'm making some good money here. On the opposite side, there's two Simons that Jesus chose as disciples. One is Simon Peter. We'll leave him on the side. We already talked about him. But Simon the Zealot. Have you ever looked into what a zealot is? They were a political class that was like part anarchist, completely rebellious, and they believed that it was worth dying for freedom. They're the Patrick Henrys of their time. And I just got through reading and listening to a book by a man named Josephus. If you ever have, I think the listening time was 60 hours. This guy wrote these scrolls, 100 and some odd scrolls, shortly after Jerusalem fell, and he detailed all the history of the Jewish people. The fall of Jerusalem, he detailed. And if you want to hear the last part of it I listened to, I was on my bike during the death ride, going up Ebbets Pass, and I was really, really slow. People could walk past faster than I was going. And I thought, I'm just going to listen to the last part of this. So I turned it on, and I'm listening to this, and every time someone passed me on the bike, and that was quite a few people, they look at me strangely like there's these people getting killed and tortured and starving to death. It's an ugly scene. It's so ugly because the Romans came, it took them a little while to get there. While they were en route, the zealots fought with everybody else. And they burned a lot of their food up. They burned a lot of all the defensive structures. They made these big towers. They destroyed some of the towers that were going to keep them safe from the Romans. The zealots did that to themselves because they hated the other people even more than they hated the Romans. So you got this guy, Matthew, and this guy, Simon the Zealot, two people completely opposed to each other, and in just a couple of years, they're going to destroy each other. Jesus chose this guy and this guy to be on the same team. I don't know if you've ever been on a team where there's someone you're just like, oh, I wish they were not on this team. I think there's a lot of mornings when that happened, when people woke up and went, why, Lord, did you choose this person to be on the team? Well, that is the context I wanted you to have before we read John 17. So let's get into John 17. I'm going to be reading it in the ESV version. And I'm going to read the entire chapter. This chapter is Jesus' prayer. Oftentimes, when we talk about the Lord's Prayer, we talk about our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. I had an old pastor one time tell me that should be called the disciples' prayer. This is Jesus teaching the disciples how to pray. The Lord's Prayer, when he prayed to God directly, can be found here in chapter 17 of John. Okay, when Jesus had spoken these words, he lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son, that the Son may glorify you, since you have given him authority over all flesh, to give eternal life to all whom you have given him. And this is eternal life, that they know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. I glorified you on earth, having accomplished this work that you gave me to do. And now, Father, glorify me in your own presence with the glory that I had with you before the world existed. I have manifested your name to the people whom you gave me out of the world. Yours they were, and you gave them to me, and they have kept your word. Now they know that everything that you have given me is from you. For I have given them the words that you gave me, and they have received them, and have come to know in truth that I came from you, and that they have believed that you sent me. I am praying for them. I'm not praying for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. All mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. And I am no longer in the world, but they are in the world, and I am coming to you, Holy Father. Keep them in your name, which you have given me, that they may be one, even as we are one. Hold on to that they may be one, even as we are one. While I was with them, I kept them in your name, which you have given me. I have guarded them, and not one of them has been lost except the son of destruction, that the scripture might be fulfilled. But now I'm coming to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them, because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not ask that you take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. Sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And for their sake I consecrate myself, that they may also be sanctified in truth. I do not ask for these only, but also for those who will believe in me through their word. This is the sentence that always just jumps out at me. He's not just praying for the disciples, these 12 knuckleheads that he's chosen, they're going around together. He's praying for you and me, all of us who believe through their, this is where we come into the Bible right here. Who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, and that's the second time he says that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I've given to them, that they may be one, even as we are one, in them and in you, me, that they may become perfectly one, so that the world may know that you sent me and love them, even as you love me. And it goes on to the rest of the chapter, on the same way. 3 times, or maybe 4 times, depending on how you look at it, he says, may they be one. And again, we got these temperamentally very, very different people, and we have politically, if you want to put it that way, super, super different. Why would God choose, or why would Jesus choose such different people if they're supposed to be, at the end goal, be one? I mean, I'm a computer programmer. I can program a whole bunch of apps to give you the exact same answer at the exact same time every time. But that's not what the Lord did. He didn't just program us to all give the same answer the same way, same time. So why did he choose such different people? I asked this to a couple of kids who were staying with us, and one of them said, it would be boring if we're all the same. So there's one answer. Jesus just didn't want to be bored. He wanted, no, but he went on to say, if your favorite color is green and mine is blue and hers is red, if everything was green, it'd be ugly, it'd be boring. Well, here's a couple of answers that I have come up with. I've thought about this a lot, and I don't have the answer. I have some answers. But obviously, it wasn't an accident. Jesus didn't go, oh man, these guys, they keep calling down thunder. I mean, they keep calling fire down from heaven. He wasn't surprised by that. He knew ahead of time this was going to happen. So why does he choose such different people? Why in this room are we all so different? I mean, why didn't it make it? Have you ever wondered why I can read this and you can read this and we can come to a different idea about how communion should be done? We just had these little cups, right? Maybe we should have a cup, because that's what Jesus did. He had a cup that he passed around. Or, I mean, really silly ones like, did Adam have a belly button? I don't know. I have my feelings on that, but I'm not going to start a new church, the Adam Belly Button Church. But in this church, in this building, in this group, we have some remarkably different opinions about different things. We all love Jesus. We're reading this word, but we see different things in different ways. Why did he do it that way? Why didn't he make it like, it said it have to be a lot bigger than this, because you have to have a lot more little, detail things. But he doesn't do that. I have a suspicion that even if the Lord did make a Bible like that, we wouldn't follow it quite right, because we do have, the highest amount of lawyers per capita in the world, in the United States. And we have lots of laws, and we still seem to disagree about what those laws mean. So, there's another sidebar there. But I think one of the reasons is that we are the body of Christ. We're not like the foot of Christ. We're not all the same thing. He made us because we have different roles. In Romans 12, 4-8, for as one body we have many members, and the members do not all have the same function, so we, though many, are one body in Christ, and individually members one of another, having gifts that differ according to the grace given us. And he goes on to talk about the different gifts, prophecy, teaching, charity, and that sort of thing. So there's just, we're a body and not just a foot. There's also another thing about having multiple viewpoints keeps you healthy. I don't know if you've ever been, like in my company that I work with, if we had everybody was the same idea how we're going to do business that day, and we were in a meeting, we would come up with the same conclusion every time. There'd be no push back and forth. We wouldn't have that iron sharpening iron. We'd be really boring. And we would also just do this path, and you can have that groupthink thing that can happen. There's an opposite of that also is when you have one really dominant person. You see this sometimes in companies. You see it in politics. You certainly see it in families sometimes where you just have someone who's more of a dictator than a father sometimes. That can happen, or variations on that theme, where you just don't have the benefit of having all these different viewpoints and different ideas and different ways of looking at things. And I think of that a little bit as almost like a spiritual or mental virus. I grow, in my garden, I have lots of raspberries. That's my thing. I have about a half acre of raspberries. Any of you ever want a start of yellows or reds or purples or blacks or champagne raspberries, let me know. You can let me know through Sean. I mean this, I give out a lot of raspberry plants so people can grow them. They grow really well up here. So I have these different types of raspberries, and each one's in a different row. And I have one row that I'm tearing out right now because one of the plants got a virus. I don't know if you know that plants can get viruses, but they can't. They don't start sneezing, but they start wrinkling, and it's really sad, and the berries get all crumbly and gross, and they're dying. If it was a blackberry plant down at the creek, I wouldn't have to tear it out because all the blackberry plants are different. But my yellow raspberries, all of them are clones. They're exactly the same DNA. So whatever affects that plant right there is going to go run right through them all. They're all going to die very shortly. So, I hate it. I love yellow raspberries. They have this taste that's a little bit pineapple-y, which if you can imagine with the raspberries, really, really, really good. But they're all going bye-bye because they are clones. And so all it took is one little virus killed them all. Whereas in this church, we are not all clones. We have different ways of looking at things and thinking about things. And someone may come into the church with some crazy idea, and one person may say, oh, that sounds kind of interesting. And the other one's like, I don't know about that. We have that ability. We have different spiritual DNA, so we kind of fight off the little mental viruses that come through. I mean, a more probably impactful example for all of y'all is bananas. And we all like bananas. Well, most of us like bananas, right? I just had my grandkids in the house. It's amazing how many bananas, they power them. And up until, I never got to taste this banana, but there used to be one called the Big Mike. And when you taste banana-flavored candy, does it taste different than a real banana to you? It tastes it's very different. It's like creamy. Yeah, I don't really like it either. But apparently all those flavors that they invented back in the day for candy came from this one called the Big Mike, because back in the day, that was the banana. Well, the Panama virus came through and just blew them all out in the 50s. They were all gone. There's a few little tiny plantations here and there that stayed away. Those bananas were all clones. All it took is one of them to get sick, and they all went through. And now that nice little yellow banana we all get at the local store, that banana is under threat too. This is something you might keep in your prayers. Not really, but the Cavendish banana, I really love that banana. It's wiped out in Asia because again, it's a clone, and it's already been wiped out there. Colombia, I think, has been hit. Peru's been hit. Some places are still safe. Costa Rica and a couple other countries have done a good job. But once that banana gets a virus, it just blows through the whole thing. You need some genetic diversity. You need some spiritual diversity to be able to keep out some of these thoughts that are out there. So next time someone says something like, how can you possibly be premillennial? Well, who knows where the Lord's coming. Okay, I'm sorry. Personally, I'm amillennial. I don't know when he's coming back. I just want to be ready. And some people really hold strongly to this one or that one, and sometimes those different views can really be bothersome, but it's good that we have that diversity. Okay, but I think that there's more to it than just trying to keep us safe from some spiritual virus or that we're just the body. I am, amongst other things, a soccer coach. And I love teaching kids how to play soccer because when they learn how to play soccer, hopefully they learn some attitudes and ways of living that will do them really well throughout life. You learn how to lose, because I'm not the best soccer coach. You do learn how to win gracefully, because sometimes we do win. And along the way, I've learned a lot of times the best lessons are that they learn not knowing that they're learning that lesson. So there's this one exercise where I line the kids up. Mostly I've had girls' teams because of my daughters. So I'll line them up on two sides. They're all in the push-up position. And they each have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the other side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many kids there are. I'll kick the ball up in the middle, and it'll drop right in the middle of the two groups. I'll call out the number 5. And those two kids have to jump up and run and get the ball and then bring the ball back to their side. And whoever brings the ball back to their side, that side gets a point. So I might call one person, one number. I might call all the even numbers. I might call all the odd numbers. 3, 5, 7, whatever, So what they are learning, they think, is how to control the ball. Because the ball is coming out. I kick it so it's all cattywampus, is bouncing all over the place. And what they're really learning, though, is they're learning how to challenge the ball. Because kids are naturally kind of, they just step back, they wait for the ball to settle down. What I'm teaching them is how to aggressively attack that ball and take charge of it. It has been the best exercise we do by far. Another example would be, so that's an example of learning one thing when you think you're learning a different thing. Another example would be a number of years ago, I rolled my tractor when I was clearing some trees out of our ranch. And by the way, always wear your seatbelt. I did not wear my seatbelt. And I rolled that tractor and I broke my back. And I got to spend 10 weeks in a hospital bed staring at the ceiling, and it was not a whole lot of fun. After that time, I started getting physical therapy, and the physical therapist had me do some things. I'm like, why are we doing this? But she would have me lay on my back, and I hold a bar with both hands, and I'd be laying on my back, and I'd hold this, and it's totally still. She said, I want you to keep that completely still, so I'm really focused on that. And then she said, now I want you to move your head like this, back and forth, back and forth. So I would do that. After a day or two of this and some other exercises that were very similar, I said, what's up with this pull? Oh, she said, that's just to distract you. It's doing nothing. I wanted you to move your head. You notice when you came in here, you were all stiff and you couldn't move your head? When you were focused on that thing, you were able to move your head back and forth. It was true. I'm like, that's really disturbing. I mean, holding a pull, focusing on that, and something I can move my body. Anyway, what I've learned from that, I think, is that sometimes the Lord does that same thing for me. I think I'm focusing on this thing that he's asked me to do, but really he's teaching me a totally different lesson. And I think that's what this chapter is about. That he didn't have to pray 3 times that they be one. It was a natural thing for us. It's very unnatural to love when someone has a different opinion, or you're really mellow and they're a hothead, or vice versa. It's hard. I think, let's see if I can find this example in here. I think this is true in marriages, churches, and community and politics. So in marriages, they say opposites attract. Why isn't that happens? I mean, my wife and I are completely different. Why is it that opposites attract? And then once you're married, you're like, I wish they'd just see it the way I see it, just this once. You guys ever had that feeling? Just this thing? But the Lord chose someone very, very different. Why? Well, certainly there's times where my wife has a much better idea about how to move forward on something than I do, and vice versa. We can both, we balance each other out there. But I have to pray a lot, and I have to come to the Lord and say, Lord, I need some help here. I need to change. Because I used to think, and this is slightly embarrassing, but I was married about 10 years when I remember having this thought. I just need to explain things more clearly to her. You guys ever have that? If she really understood this, she'd come to the same conclusion. I'm sure some of you may have thought it at some point. There's a lot wrong with that statement, but I won't unpack all of it. But I remember then thinking, okay, I've explained this super well. She still doesn't see it the way I see it. Is she really thinking straight? And then I thought, no, she's super smart. But I started thinking about that in the business world and in different relationships where if someone doesn't see things the way I see them, and I've explained it super well because I'm such a good explainer, then they're either mentally deficient or morally deficient. You guys ever have that thought? You're in a political discussion with someone about immigration or whatever it is, if you're brave enough to go there, and they don't see it the way you see it. You're like, man, you're messed up. You don't have a heart for people who are coming here, or you are whatever. There's something so wrong with that, because oftentimes, if you add 5 years, you add 10 years, you're like, I don't have the same opinion I had with myself back in the day. You guys have that? You're like, if you don't have that, there's something wrong, actually. We better be growing, right? Better be teachable. Well, I think that the Lord brought James and John, the sons of Zebedee, these fire-eaten people, and he brought Thomas and Philip and all the guys. He brought them all together, and they balanced each other out. They probably drove each other crazy for quite a while. But what's beautiful is that you see towards the end, in Acts 15, the Council of Jerusalem, there's these folks that say, hey, we need to have all Christians following the old Jewish rules. There's other ones saying, no, that's past tense. Now we just have to love one another. We have a whole different way of doing it. And so they had to have this big debate for a couple of days down in Jerusalem about how to live. And very different folks, and yet they came to a conclusion that they all could live with. They actually, Jesus' prayer came true there. They actually got along in a loving way. And when they went to other cities like Antioch to talk about it, people there praised God. They were super excited. Hey, they came to a conclusion. We have some guidance on how to move forward. So I think that when I look at how different people are in a church community, certainly in a marriage and all that other stuff, I think of a couple of things I would just want to share with you guys. You might think about when you're really feeling yourself go, this is not right. First off, you can't be sure you're right? I mean, I'm not always right. But you don't know where someone's coming from. And I don't know if any of you guys like Dostoevsky. He's an old Russian writer. He wrote Brothers Karamazov and some other ones like Crime and Punishment. A lesser-known book is The Apprentice. No, I'm sorry, The Adolescent. The Adolescent. And in there's this teenage kid that is an absolutely, I hate reading this book because the kid is just obnoxious. He's a teenager. He's obnoxious. But worse than any teenager, thankfully, that I've had to work with myself. And he keeps judging everybody. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And his dad finally takes him aside and says, son, do not judge anybody until you have suffered as they have suffered. I like that a lot better than walking in somebody else's shoes, because all of us have suffered. I mean, we don't carry a little sign on top of our head saying, I went through a really hard divorce, or I lost a child, or there's so many things that happen in life that are really, really hard. We don't know why someone is the way they are sometimes. I just like keeping in mind, you don't judge unless you know how they have suffered, until you've lived it, until you've suffered as they have suffered. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. Moving from Dostoevsky to the Bible, I think that Paul's example in 1 Corinthians 13, in the love chapter, right? Let's just do the first verse of that. This is Paul writing, the guy who wrote so many letters, so many books that we read today. If I speak in the tongues of men and angels but have not love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. So he doesn't say that if I speak in the tongues of man and angels and am incorrect in my opinion, I'm a noisy gong. He says, I don't have love. It's independent of whether you're right or wrong in the discussion. Are you clanging along like a noisy gong, or am I actually helping someone? And I think a verse that really ties well into that is Ephesians 4, verse 29, where Paul, again, writes, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fit for the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. But only such as is good for building up. That's the point of conversation. If I'm doing a conversation with somebody so I can win the argument with my wife about whatever it might be, or my neighbor about the politics of whatever it might be, if I do that and I'm not building them up, I am missing the entire point. Jesus intentionally put me in a place where people have different opinions so that I can learn to love, to rely on him to learn to love. It's intentional. It's not a bug. It's a feature. I'm a software guy. It's not a bug. It's a feature. This is designed this way. So next time I feel about somebody, this is intentional. The Lord put this here intentionally, not accidentally. Like, Lord, it's not that I have to say, hey, Lord, did you notice? Yeah, I noticed. I put him there. It's intentional. And I think that helps me think about, am I building that person up when I'm communicating? So we're going to get a lot of chances to do this, because don't you love our system where we have to have these election cycles it seems like every year. I know it's every other year, but we're about to get flooded on the airwaves again, and the internet's going to be full of people saying incredibly inflammatory things about each other. But if we can be sort of examples of Christ's love here and rely on Christ, I think it'll be really, really wonderful. Proverbs 25:11, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in settings of silver. My dad made me memorize that when I was I think it was in high school at the time. So, Jesus didn't ask us to pass a multiple choice questionnaire about theology. He asked us to love each other. Jesus didn't say, I want you all to be mellow. I mean, if that was all it took, we could just go down to the local pot dispensary, right? And I'll be really mellow. It's not about temperament. God made some people fiery and some people really mellow. I mean, my poor wife, one time she was really worked up about something, and it wasn't a fight. It was just something that happened in the community. And I thought, I'm going to try to do this. So Okay, yeah, that's horrible. She looked at me and said, don't try. Don't even try. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll go back to my normal self. Yeah, that's bad. So we're made differently on purpose. We're put together on purpose. We don't know what each other have suffered. We don't know where each other are coming from. But we do know that we have to lovingly talk to each other and build each other up in conversation. If you find yourself tearing someone down in a conversation to win, you're wrong. It doesn't matter if you're right that the sky is blue. It means you're wrong because you're not loving. That's just the bottom line from the Lord. So I think going back to verse, I don't know what it was, 23 in that chapter. Let's see if I get that right. I think the wonderful thing about this, there's two wonderful things. I love the fact that Jesus is asking God that we are one, that we love each other. You and I, when we love each other, we're answering Jesus' prayer. He's always answering our prayers. This is our chance to answer his prayer. Something to think about a little bit. So, but then also in verse, it is 21, I'm sorry, not 23. So that the world may believe that you have sent me. Isn't that cool? Imagine. I'm going to do that old Beatles song. Imagine there's no. So imagine that we all actually loved each other, that there was no Christian divorce, that Christians in the community were just always known to be super loving, that this zealot that's a crazy guy and this Matthew guy who's a Roman collaborator work together. That's crazy. That's supernatural. That is a miracle that is harder in some ways than healing someone. Well, I guess it's not. It's just as miraculous as healing someone. When we show that love, it shows up outside. I had an example in my own family just recently. We had a big family get-together, and sweet grandma is right here, and sometimes sweet grandson is right there, and they started getting into, he's been trying to figure out certain things. He just got super hot and started dropping the F-bomb, and he's not a believer. And I stepped in a couple times to see if grandma was okay. She just waved me off. And afterwards, I came up to her and I said, I was praying for you as you were having that conversation. And she said, I felt it. He's wonderful. That's what she feels about her grandson. He's wonderful. He had totally all these crazy ideas and everything, whatever else. He's wonderful. If we can feel that way about people who are made in God's image, who are very, very different than us, we have come a long way.